Now we are seeing the executive targeting the head of the judiciary without complying with the conditional precedent for dealing with him. So the unfortunate impression it gives is that the executive is interested in obliterating the boundaries of separation of powers and usurping and seizing all authority of the state to itself. That is dangerous for our democracy. That is subversive of our body politic. And I think that that is what people should actually be very concerned with. Get the executive to act in accordance with the due process of law. There's a precondition set
but
to deal with infractions of the law. Meet it.
But what about, I mean, aren't there steps? Because there are those who wonder, are there grounds for want of words, the reactions that preceded the arraignment of the CJN in this particular matter? Now, if this is a prosecutorial misstep, and the process is there for redress. For instance, you cited the CCT matter, wherein he declared himself incompetent to handle that matter because it referred to a judicial officer, which had not been referred to the NJC. Those steps were adhered to. So was the hullabaloo in this case justified because the processes and the steps are still there to address any of these quote-unquote prosecutorial missteps as it were? Can you hear me?
I lost you. You said the process.
Yeah, the question is this. In light of the reactions that preceded the arraignment of the CJN after those charges were known to the public, for those who wonder, were those reactions necessary to the extent that the steps, the processes are still there to seek redress? Meaning, look, he can still get to the courts, or if the courts can still declare themselves incompetent to look at that matter if they deem that they are not. So if those processes and steps are still there, were these reactions preceding the arraignment necessary?
Okay, thank you very much. I think, yes. Okay, thank you very much. There are two things here. Number one is the corrective measures that is available, and that is being put in place. But you can also see the other steps, which is the impact it has on the body politic. Law enforcement, criminal law enforcement is a serious matter. Criminal law enforcement affects every one of us. The executive has the primary duty of enforcing the criminal law. And the manner in which they go about enforcing that criminal law will then determine whether people respect the law or do not respect the law. You see, there's a difference between exercising authority. There's also the point about commanding respect for the authority. Now, it is in the manner in which the executive has gone about this, which is impacting on the public, and perhaps that's where the public outcry is all about. For the CJN, his lawyers are taking the steps which they need to take to protect his rights within the law. But for the larger members of the public, including my friend, Nelson, they jump into the fray. And what do they see? How do they feel threatened by what has happened? It is this, that they see what you would call an executive overreach. They ask themselves, if a person of privilege, like the Chief Justice of Nigeria, can have a due process about him subverted like this, what would be their fate? And therefore, it creates this fear, this disrespect, this diminishing of the quality of the rule of law. So my humble submission is this. The executive ought to be concerned about that. They are the ones who are charged with the primary duty of executing the law. And let me remind the audience, law enforcement is not so much dependent on the quality of the men and the ammunitions that you have. It is actually dependent on a belief. That is why the legal profession celebrated the notion that it is better that 99 guilty people go scot-free than that one innocent man is punished. Because the belief, the idea is this, that if I do right, I will not be punished. If I do wrong, I will be punished. So the vast majority of people who don't break the law is because they believe that. Now, the moment you operate the law enforcement machinery in such a way that it gives people the impression that whether you do right or you do wrong, if we want you, we can get you. Believe you me, it will break down the law, because if the majority of people, even let's say 1/5 of people, choose not to obey the law, not all the arms and ammunition you have can restrain them. So it is important that you emphasize and reinforce that idea that if you do right, due process will protect you. If you do wrong, due process will get you. And therefore, by the executive following it, look at what is happening. I mean, it's amazing that you made an allegation against the CJN. Anyone looking, and this is the terrible thing about it, the CCB, the Code of Conduct Bureau, is enjoined by statute to investigate the complaint, the asset declaration furnished to them. They had it since 2016. There was no need to pretend that you got an NGO to come and file a complaint. And then you got this NGO who filed a complaint on the 7th of January. And then by the 9th of January, you received that complaint. And look at the charges filed. By 10th of January, the charges were already drafted.
If I may come in here, my apologies, Mr. Offiong. The question then from your submissions will be, what do you expect would happen on Tuesday next week, a week from today, at the CCT? Would you expect that the CCT, from your submissions, will disqualify itself from having competence to go through this case and look at the matters brought before it?
Well, on the, I'm speaking strictly as a lawyer. I can't read the mind of the members of CCT. All I can do is to predict based on what they have done in the past. What they have done in the past in Nguta's case was that they followed the Court of Appeal decision and decided that until the matter cleared the NJC, they will not exercise the subject matter jurisdiction because a precondition had not been met. I expect them to follow that decision. But I'm also aware that in the Saraki case, although they had made a certain ruling in the Tinubu's case, they changed their mind in the Saraki's case. So it can happen. But what I also do know is that the decision of the CCT is subject to appeal. So whatever way the decision goes, any of the parties who is not satisfied with what has happened would be at liberty to test it right up to the apex court.